So, welcome, Tom.
Great to
Welcome
be here. Thank you.
to
Thanks for
my
inviting me along.
podcast. I'm really excited to have you here. And yeah, we briefly talked up front, and I just want to repeat this that, yeah, you've been probably one of my earliest, if not a first meditation teacher I met. And we met at the conference around 2012. And yeah, and I, of course, I heard of meditation earlier, but yeah, still I remember some things, and what I remember especially, what I took from you is that you set me an anchor with the word stillness, and always, if a lot of is going on, so this is my anchor word, which actually you said with your stillness project. Um, and yeah, I quickly want to introduce yourself. You are meditation teacher, if not master. Uh, you are an author of 6 books. You did a fantastic film, a documentation, The Portal, and and yeah, you are one of the persons I consider a pioneer, bringing meditation not just to individuals, also to organizations and companies, to corporates. And yeah, and uh, I'm super glad to have you here. Is there anything you would like to add?
It's pretty conclusive there. I mean, look, I've worked with some big companies around the world, Amazon, Oracle, Coca-Cola, Qantas, Harvard Business School, really trying to, I guess, penetrate the mainstream, the corporate sector, the public, with the idea of stillness and meditation, and really trying to make meditation a household experience for people. It changed my life in a big way, and I'm very motivated and inspired to bring this to as many people as possible.
Yeah, 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 exactly. It changed your life. So you've been also a finance guy, so like a wolf of Wall Street kind of person. And so you worked in the finance industry, and so this is what you yeah you wanted to change, and you found meditation.
Yeah, I started out at 19 on a trading room floor. I was supposed to go to university to do a degree in journalism, and I was really inspired to write. I loved writing, and I wanted to do journalism, kind of traveling the world after school. As an 18-year-old, I was reading books like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus and French existentialism, and I wanted to be a journalist to fight against capitalistic greed. And it was quite ironic as I traveled around Europe with my Walkman, listening to Susie and the Banshees and the Smiths. And next thing, when I got back, I had no money left, so I applied for a bunch of jobs in the paper. And before long, I'm on a trading room floor, and of all places, probably the antithesis of where I wanted to be, but I needed some money. And the weird thing was, I was actually really good at the job. And I was only supposed to be there for 3 months, and I was going to leave to go to journalism school at university. And they gave me a big pay rise, a big bonus. And if anyone's seen Wolf of Wall Street, it was very much what it was like. It was very fast, very furious, exciting, dynamic, and adrenaline fueled. And I got kind of lured into that with the bright lights and the big money and the fast cars. And before I knew it, I was in there 10 years, and I was starting to develop a lot of very extreme stress responses from the lifestyle. It was a pretty extreme lifestyle. And this was anxiety, panic attacks, depression, really chronic insomnia, and this kind of morphed and built up into eventually a nervous breakdown. And that's when I came across meditation, and it was a real game changer for me. It really changed my life in a big way.
Wow. So so where did you learn meditation, or where did you come across meditation?
Yeah, well, look, for the young people listening, this was pre Google and internet. So we had the yellow pages. And what happened was, I was watching TV and I saw a documentary about a property developer that was very successful. And he was using transcendental meditation as a tool for his
I see. Yeah.
success. And so I went to the yellow pages and looked up transcendental meditation under meditation. And Yeah, it was under bright in red, bold red, and so I inquired by ringing them up on the phone, and they invited me into an introductory talk, and I learned all about why it's such an amazing meditation. And I remember leaving that introductory talk. I hadn't actually quite yet learned the meditation, but they talked about the benefits of it. And one of the things that really struck a chord with me was they talked about outcome oriented fulfillment versus self referred fulfillment. And I never heard this concept. I never thought of fulfillment being something that we kind of commoditize and extract from outcomes, which is acquisitions and experiences, and that the outcome oriented fulfillment is very unsustainable, very fleeting, and that leaves us in this addictive state of wanting more, and we're wanting to crave more experiences and get more things. And that was something that really resonated with me, particularly with the addictions that I had with alcohol and drugs. And so that constant craving for more and not ever being able to arrive. No one will ever arrive at getting more and being fulfilled. And it's an insatiable appetite that we have for that. And that was a real thing that struck a chord with me, because they then went on to talk about self-referred fulfillment, which is a fulfillment that arises from within, that's independent of any outcomes and acquisitions, something that is a recurring experience within inside of ourselves when we connect to source, otherwise known in the Vedic tradition as being or
Mm.
presence. And so for me, I remember leaving that night going, wow, this is what I've been looking for. And then when I learned the meditation, that things really did change a lot for me.
Wow, wow. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, you studied also different meditation techniques. I'm pretty sure for this time, and and what I sense, it's super important also to find the right translation for the Westerners, right? So, otherwise, it's yeah, the concept, it's not easy to digest, I think, for Westerner brains, and often considered also like esoteric or woohoo or whatever. Well, so what is your experience dealing with that? So if you tell people meditation, about
Mm.
meditation.
I think the way I approach it, particularly when I'm working with large organizations, is that when we look at the science of this, and it's definitive, it's extremely backed by science, that when we quiet the fluctuations of the mind down, when we stop the incessant movement of the mind, that is the thinking process from thought to thought to thought to thought to thought, and we're still awake. So now we're awake, but we're not having a thought. And what we have now is the mind is just conscious, but not thinking. This is a state called Turiya, a state of conscious awareness, but no thought. Now, physiologically, what happens is we get into such a profoundly deep state of rest. The nervous system quietens down, the physiology quietens down, the mind has quietened down. And from that meditative state, our whole physiology starts to optimize. There's an incredible mechanism within the body to optimize the human experience, optimize the physiology. A classic example is if you put a cast around a broken leg, the cast is not fixing the leg at all. What it's done is it's provided a state of stillness so
Mm,
that the leg's intelligence can actually go about fixing that break. Doctors won't fix it. Nothing can fix it. Drugs won't fix it. But stillness will create an environment for the body to do what it does well. So we take the same approach. When we create stillness on a metabolic level in the body, then what happens is it allows the body to start repairing these distortions and anomalies. So all my anomalies of insomnia, agoraphobia, depression, anxiety, panic attacks simply melted away as the body reorganized itself from that state of peace and quiet. So we just really have to look at the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system and know how effective they are for those particular environments. Sympathetic, amazing for life and death situations. Not if you've just come home from a hard day at work and you're trying to have dinner with your family and you're still in the sympathetic nervous system. It's not effective when you're trying to come up with creative marketing ideas. It's not effective when you need to be loving and caring. So we want to be in the parasympathetic nervous system and look at the science behind that and how effective that is for optimal human experience.
yeah, I think this was a pretty clear answer, that the science backs it up. Um, Yeah, what makes me also curious about your experience and trends. I think so. The last couple of years, for example, breathwork got a larger trend as well. So, from your perspective, trends coming and go, or is there something to stay from that?
Mm.
Is it
Yeah, I think
sustainable?
it's a really good question. One thing we know about meditation, as far as its staying power, is that this practice has been around for 6,000 years. It's not going anywhere. Um, yes, definitely, it's quite new on the scene when it comes to integration into our current world environment, but it's been on the planet and utilized as a mechanism for thousands of years. But what I find interesting is that we're seeing a transition. We're moving from a certain number of different devices or methodologies that we use as humans for having a human experience. So gambling, drinking, you know, all sorts of drug addiction, shopping addiction. So what we're seeing is a transition from one methodology that we've been using to other methodologies: breath work, plant medicine, yoga, tai chi, Pilates, meditation. And what we're seeing is that move towards optimization of the human experience and using tools and techniques that are actually going to take us higher, not lower. Now, of course, a lot of the world is geared for us to be unhappy and unhealthy. The whole economic model is built on us being unhappy and unhealthy. The medical system, pharmaceutical system, the snack food system, the fast food system, the health system, I wouldn't say health system, the sick system, is
Yeah.
all designed for us to sustain unhappiness and unhealth, poor health. So that enables us to be dependent on that economic model. But when we start to take our own empowerment into our own hands, our own health, our own wellness, and look at the simplicity of that, then we start to find that we start to be free of that system that's designed for us to be unhappy and unhealthy. I mean, the shopping malls aren't going to be very successful when we're not in our command fulfillment mode. This is the beautiful thing. Enlightenment for the human species will be very detrimental to a capitalistic model.
Yeah, shopping malls are really a good image of our times, which
Yeah, exactly.
represents so
Classic example.
what is happening, and also the fashion industry. So yeah, but this leads also to another interesting question. So I mean, of course, we could close all fashion companies and all malls, and maybe would be happier immediately. But at the same time, I think we need to consider social aspects, who is has access to what kind of work and resources. And of course, I think we still need, like the fashion industry, maybe everyone can decide on their own individually if they need really that much clothes or not. Because what I learned, especially in Berlin, they say there's too much books, surprisingly, books and clothes. So, and people try to get rid of it constantly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, look, there's
And
ways around this, and what we'll see is it won't be a catastrophic experience for us to suddenly stop buying unnecessary fashion for the sake of looking better against someone else or because it's a new trend. It will just be that we start to redirect our attention and our money into areas that are much more suitable for A, the planet, and B, their own well-being. A classic example of this is that one of the largest nightclub owners in New York and LA, mainly LA, has sold all of his nightclubs and all of his bars, and he's just partnered up with Tony Robbins to create a health empire called The Estate, which is a number of different health clubs with saunas and ice baths and healthy environments. So we will still spend, but we'll change what we spend our money on, and it's not going to be a cataclysmic thing. I just think we're going to do things that are a little bit more mindful, a little bit more, I guess, suitable for us as a human to be better equipped to deal with life's challenges, but also better for the planet as well.
wow, that's
I mean, we're
amazing.
seeing it in Australia. It's a phenomenal, particularly Sydney. We were just chatting before we went live. I mean, Sydney is such an incredibly healthy place. It's the amount, even Australia as a whole, not just Sydney, Australia as a whole, the amount of run clubs, ice bath clubs, silent disco morning rave clubs on Monday mornings. It's a really, people still want to commune, they want to gather, they want to congregate, but they want to do it in ways now that don't leave them feeling absolutely annihilated the next day. And so we're seeing people still have an amazing sense of community, but doing it in really healthy ways. It's really beautiful to see.
What do you think? How can we get the younger generation on that path? So who are usually on TikTok and yeah, chasing from sensation to sensation, and for them might be mindfulness or stillness boring. What do you think? We how can we get them?
It's interesting. The youth of the world get a lot of bad rap, but what I'm starting to see, and certainly a lot of the youth around me, and I've got two 22-year-old children, they're streets ahead of where we were and where we are. I'm more concerned about the 30, 40, 50 year olds, that half of the people that are in that age bracket are still doing coke and drinking, you know, Aperol spritzes all Friday and Saturday night. Whereas the youth of the world, a lot of them I see are home in bed, um, you know, not going out late, and they're up early. I've got a lot of people I know with children that are saving their money and have already accumulated large amounts of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars from trading crypto and running small businesses and working part time and putting their money in the bank and not spending it on lavish things. And I was telling my kids, it's like, wow, I would have gone out on a Friday night and I would have blown, $500-600. You guys, went out for a quiet dinner and you're home watching a bit of Netflix, and you probably spent $20. And so I think the youth of the world they're doing okay. Of course, they've got their own challenges and they've got their own things being thrown at them for addictive purposes like Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok. But gaming obviously is a big challenge. But you know, I personally, I'd prefer to work with the elders of the world, because they're the ones that are currently making decisions, and some of them aren't making great decisions.
Yeah, yeah. But that's true. I also have a daughter, 16 years old, and this is also what I see, that she stopped TikTok. Actually, she stopped TikTok because she realized how much time it takes on one side, and also what also we can observe is it's less alcohol and less smoking habits now with the youth, which is quite interesting. I
Yeah.
don't know why is it exactly like that, or I'm not sure if there are studies, but it seems like yeah, that there is a positive influence, or they find their own way. That's true.
I think they're
Um,
just so well informed. They've got access to such a wide array of information. My son's keeping me up to date with global trends and global changes. He does go onto TikTok a bit, but he finds that as a form of not just trivial entertainment, watching people do skits and dancing, but he uses that as his way of being informed on global events. So, he'll
yeah,
come to the dinner table at night and be quite informed in some of our political and sort of social conversations, to the point where they're pulling, my kids pull me up and tell me off sometimes, and you can't say that, dad, and inform me on what's going on in global events, because they're more informed than I am in many cases.
but that's interesting. Yeah, so it's kind of a different kind of research, right? So it's more
Yeah.
like a cultural research
Yeah.
through TikTok, and
Yeah.
it's very interesting. Um, yeah. So maybe coming back to the to the corporate world. What especially found you attractive to go to corporations to offer them? Do you think they have maybe um, yeah, it's a better leverage to reach more people, or is it simply they can afford it, or
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first left finance and I started teaching meditation and running retreats and coaching people, all of my clients were B2C, which means business to consumers. That's me going to the public. And a lot of the people that I were in my circles, kept pushing me and encouraging me to go to corporates. And I just had no interest. I had no interest going back into an office. I'd spent 26 years in an office, and I'd much rather be in a straw villa in Bali, taking people in the jungles of Bali into a deep meditation experience. But interestingly, a lot of the people that I was teaching were people from the corporate sector. And by default, a lot of them asked me to go into their companies when they had a taste of my work and had an impact from my work. And so by default, I just started getting invitations to work in the companies that a lot of my clients were working in. And so that kind of just started to snowball and grow, and it just got more and more
Nice.
clients in that sector. It's a challenging space to work in, to work in that space, because the company might want you there, but a lot of the staff don't. So I've had keynote presentations that I presented on the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system and how meditation is going to improve your state to peak performance, and people just looking at their watches wondering when I'm going to finish so they can get back to work. Like it's you usually get 20% of the audience just absolutely no interest in what you've got to say, about 40% very interested, and then there's a few just in between.
Wow. So how do you deal with that? That
Yeah,
people are.
it's not attached. It's you can't people have to be ready for this, and maybe it might not be right for them ever. Maybe it's another path. This is not the only path for people to take for living the full human experience. And I give everyone their blessing to do whatever they find most appropriate to walk their path in life. And if I can impact some people and make their lives better, then that's great. But I'm not attached to the outcomes anymore.
Oh, that's good. And have you experienced maybe also people who try to challenge you on stage and um, try to provoke you or say, "Oh, this doesn't work" or anything?
Surprisingly, never. It's really quite interesting. And I think that the reason being is there's a number of reasons why it's not possible to do that. I guess in some respects, as a person and a personality, they could definitely challenge me on that. I've still got flaws. I make mistakes, and I'm definitely still learning and growing as an individual. So I'm always open to being critiqued or criticized and given, I guess, insights in how I can do things better. But as far as the practice itself, it's been around for 6,000 years. It's very hard to find a flaw in it. There's definitely it's not perfect as well, but it's definitely something that's now not only got the depth of tradition behind it, but it also has an immense amount of science to back it, as far as something that increases brain potential, reduces high blood pressure, reduces high cholesterol, helps us with insomnia, increases concentration and efficiency and productivity. So there's so much science behind it. It's very hard to fault it, I guess.
And this is so fascinating that this knowledge is so old, actually. Maybe one of the oldest human recorded knowledge at all, right? And it's still valid. It's still bringing benefits. And this brings me also to the next question. Our modern times, it's yeah, new technologies, also like AI. What is your perspective on that? Is AI another challenge for us to stay in balance or in stillness? How can yeah, meditation also come in?
Yeah, AI is going to be really interesting. It's going to be fascinating to watch how it weaves into our society. It's obviously already penetrated it in a big way. I think it's unstoppable now as far as its impact and its capacity to move things forward. And some would say maybe move it backwards. It's going to be interesting to see. Um, One thing that nothing can take away from us, and that's our ability to close our eyes and withdraw from our senses and go inward to stillness and silence. And doesn't matter how many AI platforms there are, how many social media platforms there are, how much streaming platforms there are, we can withdraw from that at any point in time and find real true peace and quiet. And I was just watching a video on social media, interesting, only about an hour ago, about a lady that was sharing some insights about the blackout that they had in Barcelona. And she said, we had no internet, we had no electricity, we had no transport. And the thing was, not only did we all survive, but we actually felt really good. And she said, I went to the park and there was all these people reading books sitting in the sun. And it was really quite liberating. And I think a lot of us were really quite enchanted by what came from that. So the beautiful thing is we have choice. And what I recommend to my community and my listeners is that this is all wonderful to have this at our disposal. It's such a gift to have the opportunity to have AI making life easier for us, to have social media providing entertainment and also knowledge for us. But we have a choice to also withdraw from that at any point in time. And it's so easy just to sit on a chair, close your eyes and go into meditation, or to go into the park and sit under a tree, or go to the beach and sit on the sand, and to unplug. So it's not about there's this or that. It's about how do we integrate both. And that's what I think is going to be the way forward for humanity, finding that balance.
Yeah, I like that. Actually, really, you at any time you can close your eyes, watch your breath, and yeah, take your time. Yeah, that's great. And yeah, coming to your film movie, The Portal, which is really amazing, and I know you announced it already 2012, and it took you several years to realize it, right?
Yeah, long
Uh,
time.
but it's um, yeah. First, you wrote the book,
We made the
and
film first, and the book was extracted from the film.
the book was extracted. Okay,
Mm,
and yeah, and I watched the film, and it took me actually a few years, to be honest, to find it again, or to find you again, be reminded. And yeah, I watched it and I thought, wow, how fascinating it is. So you went to different social groups, and also like in prison, to see what meditation does there. And also, yeah, what I also found very interesting, you had people in front of the camera who yeah, dealing with AI and consciousness, and saying that that we can yeah, build or train the AI to have compassion. And I found this very interesting because this is what we need. Can you maybe yeah, tell a little bit about your film in general, and of course, and also about the AI topic, and how AI can be teached compassion?
mm, mm. Yeah, so firstly, the premise of the film was to showcase the power of meditation in transitioning us out of crisis on an individual level and a collective level. And that crisis is a result of a particular trajectory that we've been on in our life, whether it's a collective or individual. So if you're in crisis, it's because of the trajectory that you've been on, the circumstances that you've been through. And we showcase 6 stories that have all had certain circumstances and a trajectory in their life that led to a crisis of some sort, but not seeing crisis as the end of something, but seeing crisis as an opportunity for an incredible level of growth. And how when we integrate meditation in that crisis situation, how much we can see people really go through phenomenal shift and change. And then we look at that on a global level. And what if we got the world meditating? And when we see 99% of all human problems, or all problems on the planet, are human generated problems. So if humans are generating the problem, then we need to change the human. And how do we change the human? We change their state of consciousness. So then we went and explored the programming of humans. And what we found is that humans are generally by default programmed by their environment, their parents, their social upbringing, their political background. So many different influences and factors are programming humans to think and act in a particular way. And therefore, if humans are programming humans, then humans can program AI. And so what are we programming AI with, and what are we programming humans with? So what we showed was that with AI, we can program AI to be compassionate and unconditionally loving if the programmer of the AI has the capacity to program it with that. So the AI is only programmed by the programmer's state of consciousness. So if we want to change AI, and if we want to change humans, we have to change the programmers. And that's why I went early on to you talking about the kids. What my issue is the programmers of the kids. That's where we've got to work with the programmers of the kids, which is the adults. So we can make humans more compassionate, and more loving. And then from that place, they will be programming other kids and the AI to be more compassionate and loving as well.
Wow, that's deep. The programmers of the kids. So, yeah, so there is this African saying, I think it needs a village to raise
Mm,
children. And yeah, so how you described it, it needs really many programmers to program, or if, yeah, many programmers are programming our children, and that we are aware what is happening. Yeah, really interesting. And this is what they also say in Silicon Valley. All the executives, they don't let their children too early to the devices.
that's right.
And yeah, so they know why. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. So um, program the programmer. That's interesting. And so we program all the AI, and this is how we can teach it compassion and
Mm.
yeah,
I mean, if we look
unconditional
at
love.
what's programming adults at the moment, a lot of adults are watching TV, and in TV drama, they'll be seeing people in emotional upheaval based upon their reaction to circumstances. So that's a really flawed program. If you look at every TV drama and every TV sitcom, it's you made me feel bad or you made me feel good. And so we're in this complete lack of sovereignty that's been programmed into us. And then we've got games. If you look at 90% of games, Mortal Kombat, and I don't even know what half of them are called, I just see them on the side of buses when they drive past, but they look violent and they're people killing people. So we've got programmers programming games to program people playing the games to be killing people. I mean, how's that going to be good for our society?
Yeah.
We're programming people with TV commercials for drinking alcohol, programming people to buy ridiculous food that's absolutely not going to have any positive effect on their well-being. And so most of our society is programming us to be unhappy and unhealthy.
Yeah, yeah, and it starts very really early age, right? So with all the toys and but yeah, so growing up or yeah, having children and see them grow up in such a society, of course, you can't do everything perfect. You can't really avoid those mistakes. I
Mhm.
think you need to find balance on one side socially. Of course, they get in contact with such toys or they get in contact with content which you maybe don't like, but yeah, on a birthday party or something, they're in contact with it. And yeah, so you need to counter program then again, somehow talk with them.
Yeah, I think the key to this is not to exclude them from the world, not to isolate
Yeah,
them from the world, which I know some people try. My approach with my children is to let them be completely immersed in the world, but let them have discerning capabilities. And I said to my kids, you get to do whatever you want. See what life is like if you don't do homework. See what life is like if you get 20% in your exams. See what life is like if you eat crap food and you feel sick all the time. See what life is like if you
yes.
stay up on your phone all the time. Knock yourself out. This is your life. But really, we want to empower children to realize the cause and effect mechanics of life, otherwise known as karma, obviously. And and by teaching them at a very young age that every decision and every action has a reaction, and that you're in the driver's seat here. You know, you hold the reins to your life. You're the one that's either the director, the lead actor, and the producer of your film. And so, giving people the autonomy, the sovereignty to make good choices or better choices. Of course, we'll make mistakes, we'll get things wrong, but we're going to learn in those times as well, and let them know that there's nothing wrong with having difficult times. There's nothing wrong with being anxious or afraid or sad or angry. But to start to do a deeper critical thinking as to why you're reacting that way, what's caused that. So a lot of the world is trying to smother us or um, try to eliminate some of these sensations from our life with obviously medicating kids at a very young age. But I think we need to let them feel and let that feeling level be a guidance system for them to have deeper understanding and awareness about life.
Well, great. So would you say there is no right or wrong um, in that sense?
It depends where you're looking at that from. If we
So
were,
if you let the
sure.
children decide, so yeah, do you experience how
Well,
it feels?
what I the way we do it in our house is that there are guidelines, there are rules, there are boundaries, and um, if you cross those boundaries or do things that might not be aligned with the current guidelines within the house or life itself, then you'll see some form of karma come in. And it might be from us, it might be from your teacher, it might be from the principal, it might be from the police, it might be from something else. And that, I guess from a human construct, we could say there's right and wrong, definitely, or from a global universal um, energy field throughout the universe, throughout all time, there's simple laws of cause and effect. That one thing leads to another thing. And so, yeah, it's not like we just let them do whatever they want in their house.
No.
There are certain implications and ramifications for every action, and some of them are amazing. Some of them
Mhm.
are going to be quite unpleasant, but that's just part of the process of them learning and growing.
Yeah. But what's different towards religion, I would say, where you also have rules and boundaries, is that they have also their space to make their decision and to explore and experience their own life without thinking, oh, I did something wrong and this was a sin, and now I have to, I don't know what to do, whatever. Um, and I feel guilty for all my life. And yeah, so yeah, they have their space to experience and for themselves what is right or wrong, right?
Yeah, I grew up a Catholic, and I know the deep guilt that comes with being a Catholic. I remember used to saying, acts of contrition, which is an apology to God. If I, maybe ate some ice cream during Lent when we're not supposed to eat ice cream, when I felt terrible guilt and things, and all sorts of guilt riddled through my life. But yeah, like I think every religion's got its own, I guess, laws, and they're different for each religion, and people have to sort of relate to them as best as they can.
Yeah, 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 true. Um, Great. So one question I have regarding also bringing meditation to corporates is what is your experience and what do you sense? We are living in wild times. Economy is uncertain of for several reasons, and in Germany is like that. That the economy is struggling a little bit. There are no visions, and yeah, people put on the streets, and especially from large car assembly plants. And so the question is, do companies really invest when they should? Or if they struggle, if companies struggle, do they also try to save the money on their people? And yeah, so what is your experience? Do they invest in the people when they should?
Look, I think we're in the very, very early stages of that happening. What I call that model is a game B business. A game B is an infinite game, a game that's a win-win paradigm where everyone that plays the game contributes to the game and everyone wins as a result of playing the game. So that's a game B business model and a game B world. So we're in a game A world at the moment, which is a finite world, which is a win-lose paradigm. So for every winner, there's a loser. But unfortunately, at the moment, we have very small amounts of winners and lots of losers in the current model. And that's just a result of the state of consciousness of the people that are playing the game. So that's again comes back to the adults that are programmed and conditioned over thousands of years to be in a win-lose paradigm. If I can extract something from your country, from your people, from your group, then I'm better off as a result of that. But as we're moving into, we call it in Sanskrit, Sat Yuga, the age of enlightenment, and we get more people conscious, then we're going to have more people creating conscious businesses. And that's a big incentive for me is to get businesses to become more conscious. That is the people that are running the business and creating the business. And my business, for example, is a game B business, which means that everything that we create in our business should in some way benefit the masses. So that is our retreats, our coaching, our teacher trainings, our meditation courses, our films should provide some form of elevation and uplift. Then we're a for-profit, which means that we make an exchange for that value that we bring to the world, which means I get to feed my kids and my family, and they like that because they like eating food and they like having shelter. So that means we win as well. But there's a third win here, in that because we're a for-profit, we can take some of the revenue from our business from every sale, and this is all shown on our website. It's all calculated and it's all revealed in full transparency. We take some of the revenue from our sales, and then
The website is the Stillness Project.
no, tomcronin.com.
I did Tom Cronin. Okay.
So if you go to the bottom of tomcronin.com, you'll see our SDG impacts that we're making around the world as a result of us selling our products. So when we sell a product, we then go and grow trees in Malawi, help re-educate women from sex slavery in Colombia, we educate children in Kenya, we build water wells in India. And so you'll see the impacts that we're making as a result of our work. So what that means is that the more our business thrives and succeeds, the better the world's going to be on every single level, every touch point of the business. So we want businesses to be built that way, in that we want the business to thrive. We want everyone to be proportionally benefiting from that as a result of the business. And we're not quite there yet with businesses, but I think we're going to start seeing a lot of businesses go that way. Already we're seeing quite a few amazing businesses create great products that benefit the world, and also have some form of social impact as a result of their business thriving and succeeding.
Yeah. So what you call game A?
Game A and Game B. We're in Game A. So if you just go to
Yeah, yeah.
Wikipedia, type in Game B Wiki or Game
Oh,
B
yeah.
Wikipedia, you'll find a really good dialogue happening there, and a sort of a thesis about what Game B is and how we can collectively move towards a Game B world.
So game A sounds a little bit like old-fashioned colonization
Game A
principles.
is what we're playing right now. It's
Yeah.
a finite game that it will have an end point. We will not be able to continue playing Game A forever. It is a finite game that will see a self-termination of us as a species if we keep playing this game the way we're playing it.
And game B, what you said, is also written in the Vedas, what I understood, and also in Sanskrit. So it's also older than game A, actually.
Yeah, it's an
But it's
enlightened
called
planet.
game
It's
B.
coming. Yeah, not
Yeah.
there yet though.
Yeah. But so for me, it's like really we need to go a step backwards. So and the question is, what is exactly one step back? And yeah, maybe it's 6,000 years going back, and really to realize and be reminded, oh, there are techniques and technologies which has been used already and which can give the answer. Maybe everyone is expecting that AI will give all the answers, but we know that it will take time and it's not always accurate. And yeah, so I like that game A, game B. Actually, game B should be called game A because it's older.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is what we need to work on. But yeah, what is a conscious business again for you? So because I imagine you go to a CEO of a big company and you tell him about conscious business. It sounds really esoteric again. It sounds what is a conscious business? As long there is money, it's a good business. Why should be a business additionally conscious?
I do a lot of work with mentoring yoga teachers, breath workers, meditation teachers, healers, coaches, helping them in the smaller business model. They're what we call conscious businesses. And the reason why it's a conscious business is because the person that's in the business is conscious. And what I teach them is that their business is a reflection of their state of consciousness. So if they're running around in haste and lack and trying to exploit people, and then their business will become that. They'll build a business from their state of consciousness. So we focus primarily in my Zen Academy, which is my coaching container for conscious leaders, is to prioritize their state and let their state be the first and foremost starting point, because their business will extend and grow from their state of consciousness. And what we find with some of the bigger organizations that I work with that aren't absolutely they're not conscious businesses, not yet, because the people running them aren't what I would call conscious, as in awake. They're not aware of their divine nature. They're not aware of source. They're not aware of the unbounded, the infinite, the interconnected. What they're aware of is that there's me and my pay, my bonuses, my shares, and my business that I'm running, that I have a responsibility for my shareholders to make as much money as possible, regardless of the outcome. So that's a very game A model, which is me, my, mine, needs to thrive and succeed. And so that's something that needs to change over time. But the only way to do that is to get those leaders in those businesses to be more conscious.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. So this leads me to the next question. Do you think it's possible to have conscious business on a corporate level? Because a corporate company might be listed on the stock market. The stock market,
Mm.
yeah, is crazy and also influenced by many greedy people, maybe. And yeah, do you think it's possible to have a conscious business on that level, or do we need to transform the stock market first or the financial system? And I know there are people working on that.
Yeah, there's some amazing people doing some great work on remodeling our current model.
Yeah,
It's going to be very difficult for large organizations that are publicly listed, which have a lot of superannuation funds investing in those companies for that annual dividend. And what they need to see is not only that company make profit and pay a dividend, but also continually increase its growth. So that company needs to have, 10% growth every year. And to do that, it's almost impossible. So that's when things get exploitative, where staff get exploited, when the industry or the market gets exploited. So it's very hard, I believe, with the current model of people naturally expecting high yielding returns on their superannuation. And that fund, which is in charge of that superannuation, then investing in the companies, that putting demands on the companies to get high yields out of that business, then um, I find it's going to be very difficult for the current model for us to not to have conscious businesses on
yeah,
that
yeah.
model. But we've got some really good ethical funds that are starting to emerge, and they're doing really well. In Australia, we've got a few ethical funds that you can invest in that have got quite high yielding funds. So I think there's a possibility for sure to do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think there is for sure a sense for that. What can be challenging, I could imagine also the competition in general. We have like this global competition, and it looks like that we are now in the phase what many predicted, that the world economy moves from west to east or is pulled back at the moment.
I think that's
But
already happened.
yeah, maybe it already happened and we are not, yeah, probably also. And yeah, so for example, China does crazy stuff with production and have the best products on yeah, lowest rate. For sure, this comes also to for a price. But how do we compete then? Or yeah, so do we have the space to allow ourselves and the time to say, okay, let's be conscious now and move back? Or, yeah, otherwise, other companies will take over or countries.
Yeah, I think it's getting into the territory where I'm a bit unqualified to start speaking, but I can certainly, I guess, add some insight. But I think with the competitive nature of business and industry around the world, um, if you want to play in that game, it's going to be hard to be very, very ethical, very, very mindful, very, very, you know, conscious, I guess is the word, about your impact in the collective. But I believe that you can still participate. We've got some great companies here, Atlassian, Canva, that are doing great things, and they're big market cap companies that
Yeah,
still have very social sort of inclinations, and they add value to the world with their products, and they add value to their staff because they're a for-profit business, and they add value to the environment because of the way they allocate some of their profits to social causes. So I think I think it's not a matter of can we. I think we have to. I think
Yeah.
it's, we're just going to have people like the Facebooks of the world looking at their tax, sort of, what they're paying in tax and thinking about how do we play a bigger impact in the world in making the world a better place. What does it look like for us to really, and I don't know the full gamut of, not to pick on Facebook, but all of those large organizations
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
really thinking deeply about collectively, hopefully, what are they going to do to contribute to the world's plight and challenges. We're definitely enough money in the world to make the world a better place.
And at least if the individuals become more conscious and they might be consuming less, so this would be also influence already.
100%.
Um,
It comes down to the consciousness of the people, which is where I like to spend most of my time because
yeah, yeah,
if no one drank Coca-Cola tomorrow, because everyone just said, why were we drinking this? Like, even though there's billboards and TV commercials telling us we should drink it, but I know definitively in my mind that this is not good for me to drink it. And I'm not going to get trapped into that pleasure seeking because of this fizzy brown liquid in a can. And so
yeah,
if every person on the planet woke up tomorrow and said, not drinking Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola will have to start producing something different, which is why, of course,
exactly.
they've already moved into water. So it does come down to the discerning um, decision making of the collective that will dictate what corporates and companies make and do.
Yeah,
And it will also dictate what people get voted in. The people will vote someone that represents them, that they're aligned with. And so my motivation with the Stillness Project and with my film and with the work that I do is if we make people more conscious, more empowered, more sovereign, then it's going to wreak havoc on some of those major players that are influencing our world because they'll have less capability to influence us in a bad way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely everyone should watch the film, and we will share also the link.
Thank you.
You gave access now also that people can watch it for free, right?
At the moment, yeah, we're just
At the
gifting it to
moment.
the world. Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
And it was probably also a huge investment to realize it, to produce it.
Yeah, it was a difficult time. Um, yeah, it was quite a process to go through that one.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we will share the link definitely. Um, yeah, yeah, very interesting. What I found corporates so interesting, and if I think this is what Sadhguru said actually, that he's so interested in corporates because uh, we spend a lot of time working for corporates and dealing with corporates, and actually it takes a lot of time, and that corporates also have a large influence and could be a large leverage towards people. They have power really to reach people. They have a huge reach often. Um, is there anything you see which could be used or implemented with large corporations that we promote more this message, or is there anything which comes to your mind?
Oh, I've just had a conversation this morning with a large legal firm, a law firm here in Australia, with lots of staff, and it's really it's a process of individual shifts,
Yeah,
person by person. That's all it
yeah,
is. Corporate is really just a logo. It's a name. It's a share price. But if we get into the granular of what that corporate is, it's just a group of people.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
group of people, and um, we've got a board, we've got a CEO, we've got shareholders, we've got staff, and really, my interest is just person by person, expanding
yeah, yeah,
someone's mind, opening their heart, and
yeah.
realizing that they're part of a unified field that is pervasive of all reality.
Mm. Yeah, what I could see with Google actually, when the book Search Inside Yourself came out, I think it was 2015, and the program started also, that it had quite an influence also on other corporates to think about it. I'm not sure if always in a beneficial way. So I also have the impression that it became a trend also, and other large companies, I think SAP, for example, which is a huge tech company, in Germany, has also a division which sells this program now to other companies. And so I'm not sure if this is done as it should be. I don't have insights. Yeah, but definitely it can push uh, people also towards or make them aware. There are also other solutions. Yeah. Yeah, great. I think we're almost over now. Um, is there anything else you would mention from your work? Feel free to promote it also, your books, your projects, your website. I will share, but for sure also links below the
Mm.
video.
Yeah, look, if anyone needs some support learning to go deep into meditation, I run meditation programs for people. And also, if they want to go away with me, we have these beautiful, rich, immersive retreat experiences that they can participate. We've got one coming up in September in Bali. We run them here in Australia, and we're looking to run one in USA next year. So, if they want to experience that deep immersion over a number of days, it's a really powerful process. They're most welcome to that. And if they need some support as conscious leaders in the world, by all means, they can go to my website, tomcronin.com, or find me on Instagram, Tom Cronin. And by all means, reach out. I look to have a chat with you and see if I can support you in some way, shape, or form.
Great. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you for having you here. Yeah, I really appreciate it that you took your time and such a pioneer and experienced person talk to. Yeah, hope we will have also another chance to chat again. And yeah, to all listeners, thank you for listening and hope to see you, hear you, or listen to us next time again. Thanks.